Welcome to my corner of the internet. Episode 10 of Ice Queendom is out, titled Mirror of Darkness. And while it wasn't exactly what I wanted, it was still kind of an okay episode overall. I wanted the fights to be Sakura level, which they won't, but they were kind of better than what we've been getting so far, so it was okay. But it kind of sucked that half of the episode was pretty much kind of a flashback just to get us to where we ended up at the previous episode. So that kind of just felt like a waste. But I loved a lot of the stuff that we got with Blake, since it was much more of a Blake-centric episode, and I like a lot of the more subtle things we got with Yang, and honestly, a lot of the animation was pretty cool too as well. Okay, so I was a bit wrong last episode saying that Blake just decided to dress up as Adam to distract Weiss. She decided to do something even crazier and infect herself with the Nightmare Grim so she could transform and then fight on par with Negative Weiss. And what's weird is that when she was infected, she didn't see this male version of herself like Jean and Weiss did. She instead saw a version of Adam, which does make sense in a way, because he is everything that she feels, everything that she doesn't want to become, and is more scared of the type of influence he can have on the fanus movement as a whole, as well as being co-abuser in a way. And something else that I thought was kind of weird is that usually, so at least so far, when the people have been infected, it requires some state of emotional distress for them, for the Naima to actually take over. Now, maybe this could be because she willingly accepted it, that she didn't need that part for it to happen. But I'm thinking, like, is because the life that Blake has lived so far, constantly having to hide that she's a faunus, coming to terms with the fact that violence has gotten them more progress in whatever short amount of time than a peaceful white thing movement has, and just having to live through persecution in general. Has she been living in a kind of constant state of emotional distress, and just because of who Blake is as a person, she kind of internalizes all of it. She hides it, so you don't really see it that well on the outside, but when the nightmare, kind of entered her, it was just like, boom, you're already there, because she's constantly living like that. Could it be? Could not be? Could be just reading too much into it. Either way, watching her transform was probably the coldest thing I've seen in Ice Queendom in a minute. Cause oh my god, that animation was just beautifully done. I mean, it was amazing. So with Blake transforming, her nightmare starts to change and shape Weiss's and whatever Blake feels, and that leads to mainly the White Fang that were in the little Faunus mansion becoming more violent and aggressive, and they end up going to basically attack the SDC, and that goes into Negative Blake fighting Negative Weiss. And during that fight, it seems more that Weiss thrown off her game because Blake comes in living her like best faunus supremacy life and putting all of the blame and the subjugation of the faunus onto Weiss, which takes Weiss back a little bit because she's not used to seeing Blake being this hateful and this violent, which is kind of sweet, but she also just doesn't take the blame for all those accusations, but then I was thinking about it, and it's like, in this nightmare, well, in Weiss's nightmare, she is the perfect Schnee heiress, she is living up to all these ideals that she thinks that Jacques, just the Schnee name in general, or the people of the Atlas, put on her, and, you get the good and the bad with it, and, part of that is what's happening with the faunus. They've said it in plenty of other episodes where it's like there's not a single faunus in Atlas in this nightmare, and we see where they all end up, and we see what they look like. So it's like when Weiss takes over for Jacques, if she's not doing anything to rectify that, or if she's going along with it, then she is more or less complacent in the place that the fanus have. So Blake's kind of right to put that blame on her, not fully, but still, she's got a bit of a point. And I love seeing Blake on her little violent revolutionary warpath, because that is not something we get in the show, since she's pretty pacifist against all of that. But it's probably one of the best things we've got out of Ice Cream so far, because I'm just loving it. And this is probably one of my favorite scenes for Yang and Ice Queendom so far. She doesn't really say or do much, but you can see the more pain and struggle she has on her face to allow Blake to go through with this crazy plan, and it's just like it's hard for her to do, because obviously it's something life-threatening for her team and she cares about them. Yang has always played this more big sister role for Team RWBY, and I feel like that's really coming through in just her expressions and her kind of resentment to move along with it. And it gets to the point where Yang has to pump herself up just to go along with this, not for Blake's sake, but for her own, because she knows, like, if she's not fully into it, then either she wouldn't go along with the plan in general, or she wouldn't be focused enough to play out her role accordingly. And I just love that there's this level of trust that we see between them, even though it's still pretty early in Volume 1 with Ice Queendom happening. But, I don't really expect to see them go and pull Blake out of her nightmare, It'd be nice, but I don't think that's really going to happen. And yeah, that's basically the episode. Like I said, I'm pretty much still waiting for something to give me that wow factor like we did with those fights in the first 3 episodes, because those were still just so amazing, and we haven't been really hitting those peaks ever since. We're nearing the end of the season, and a lot of anime originals usually kind of drop the ball near the end, whether it's just things just go wrong, basically. And I don't want that to happen here, because I've been pretty much enjoying the series overall, so I would want to see it finish out strong. Yeah, so next episode, obviously we're still fighting the Nightmare Grim. I'm expecting things to kind of wrap up with the Nightmare in general. Probably get a little bit more of the Blake and Weiss fights again. Yang and John will probably be dealing with either the giant Schneemek and the armored jock. And then I'm probably expecting 12 to just be wrapping up whatever field trip that we have left. Maybe hinting at something else in the future? I don't know. But we'll wait and see, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.